will forgive you yours. If you do not forgive others, then neither will your Father forgive you. Isn't that a kick in the teeth? Now, forgiveness is an act of the will. You have to sit there and say, and again, I encourage you, if you're right now while you're listening to this tape or watching a DVD, in your heart you stop for a moment and you let the Holy Spirit reveal to you anyone you have not forgiven. And then that person or persons you come before God with and say, Jesus, I now forgive them, and I ask you to forgive them. And once you make that act of the will, it's a done deal. You have given them forgiveness. It's an act that's done. Now the feeling might not come. You still in your heart might really hate this person. But you're free. Huh? When you don't forgive anybody, does it hurt anybody else? It just destroys you and eats you away every day. Usually the person you haven't forgiven hasn't a clue that you even hate them. But it kills you. So forgiveness is necessary if we're going to have life, if we're going to continue. And forgiveness especially in families. Because since, again, every one of us come from dysfunctional families. Do we not? One day I might be talking to your kids and they'll sit there and say, Father, I come from a dysfunctional family. Yeah, I know, I met your parents once, I understand. We're all this way, people of God. Even Jesus Christ, huh? You ever want to go through any of the genealogies of Jesus in the beginning of Matthew's gospel or beginning of Mark, or not Mark, Luke's gospel, and you look at the genealogies here, it is not a good thing. You go through the whole history of Jesus, and Jesus, it's only in Matthew, sorry, when Jesus goes through this reality, there are murderers in there. King David was a murderer. There are rapists in there. Yeah, King David again. There are, whores in the genealogy of Christ. So I think God purposely left that in there to show it doesn't matter where you come from. It only matters where you're going. Huh? So what? You come from a dysfunctional family. You're going to let that determine your life for the rest of your life? Father, I'm this way because my dad didn't love me enough. Okay, I get it. Can we move on now? That's not very compassionate. It's very compassionate. It's time to let go of the past and focus on the future. Huh? Again, I love to tell people, Jesus Christ always, the way you can tell God's will is to keep us focuses on Him and the future. The devil keeps us focused on ourselves and our past. I am this way because of this, and this. I get it, but it's not helping you. You need to let Christ cover it with His blood and move on, okay? It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy for me. I'm just saying that this is God's call. You see, God's call to love is very difficult because it'll cost us everything. It was for Him too. Go ahead and look at the crucifix. That's what it cost Him to love us. It hurt. It killed Him. And if we're going to love like God loves, love one another as I have loved you, it's going to hurt us to forgive. It's going to hurt us to love. But we have to walk into that with open eyes, huh? And say, I choose to forgive. I refuse to hold anything back. Okay? Next letter in the word family. A. A is for affirmation. What's A for? Affirmation. Now, affirmation is a time when we build each other up in our families, huh? That we sit there, and to do that, when a person comes home, your husband or wife comes home, do you affirm them at least once a day? Or do you tell them, oh, I can't believe this, da, da, da. When you walk in the door and you get beat at, that word, we won't use it here. People sometimes don't want to come home. I don't know if you know that. But if every time you walk in the door, there's no affirmation, there's only complaining, what is that? In the world, sometimes the bad part of the world, the things of the world are always coming against us. Our family should be a place of affirmation. Our family should be a place where we build each other up, huh? And so sometimes you have to work at that. Always tell your kids what's wrong with them, what they didn't do right, what they didn't do this, that's all good, and it's necessary. I'm not saying you become a la-la, but I'm saying, and after you sit there and say, you didn't do this, you take out the garbage, you didn't do this, you talk to your husband or wife, you're driving me crazy. That you make it a practice in your life that once every day in your family, you're going to say something positive. You're going to do something affirming for your person. And that's for every member of your family. That means wives, you got to look at your husbands instead of complaining every moment of every day. Not all of you do that, of course not. Most of you are perfect women. And so, but you have to make sure that you say at least one thing to build them up also. Husbands, instead of coming, making all kinds of garbage when you come home because things aren't the way you like it, when do you say something affirming? You're pretty. You're nice. I'm glad you're here for me. I'm glad that you're in my life. What do you do to affirm them? What do we do to affirm our children? Huh? Years ago, I was giving a talk in Kansas City, Kansas, and it was an all-day men's conference. These poor people, they had to listen to me all day. I was the only speaker, and they had to listen to me all day from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. It's like hell on earth. But anyway, as I'm sitting there talking, there was this one kid in the back, and he had like the, you know, that mohawk hair in, and this is over 10 years ago. He had the black fingernails, he had the long pea coat on, the big black boots and everything, and you could tell every time I was talking, he'd just go, you know, I just thought, I can't get this kid. I don't know why I'm not reaching him. Anyway, I had to go to Carmel, Indiana. I was leaving from Kansas City. I had to drive to Carmel, Indiana to give a parish mission. And I'm literally running out the door at 5 o'clock so I can get in the road. And as I'm running out the door, people are clapping, and this kid, who was about 17 years old, come running over to me. I thought he was going to kill me. It was going to be one of those things in the paper. I thought, here we go. He says, "Father, Father." And I go, "Oh, what?" And he goes, "Here, I want you to have this." And he gave me this little piece of paper, which I still carry everywhere with me. It's always in my Bible. I said, "Oh, thank you." And usually when I get letters from people, it's usually a hate mail, but they don't like my personality. You know, I said some horrible things. And, "Father, why don't you change your personality?" You know, I get them all the time. But anyway, so I'm thinking, here we go. This kid's just telling me how I completely messed up his life or whatever. And so I go and I sat in the car, and I'm sitting down, and I thought, okay, let's read it. And I read it, and on the outside it says, "Pax Omni." And in case he knew that I didn't know Latin, and he did, he explained it to me what it means. Peace everywhere. Isn't that nice? And then I opened it up. And this is what it says. It says, maybe one person in 1,000 years dies from too much praise. Yet every minute, a kid dies inside from lack of it. Huh? Maybe one person in 1,000 years dies from too much praise, yet every minute a kid dies inside from lack of it. Do we praise our children? Do we affirm them and lift them up? Especially when they're teenagers. They are so insecure. And they'll do things that make you crazy. But do you still build them up? So they don't have to look at their friends to get built up. Because affirmation is such a necessary part of everyone's life, especially in high school kids, that if they don't find it at home, they'll find it somewhere. If spouses don't find affirmation at home, they'll find it somewhere. Affirmation is not an option in a family. It's the way we express love. So, the next thing is A for affirmation, as our family places of affirmation. Next letter, M. M is for making memories, huh? Making memories. And for that, we gotta sit there and think, are we people? What kind of memories are we making in our families? Are they joyful memories? Are they memories where you lift people up? What kind of memories do we have? And again, you can't make many memories unless you have dinner together, huh? You know, you gotta have family time. Now, again, I get it. I know. Father, you don't understand. My kid plays soccer. The other one plays football. We don't have time to eat dinner together. Remember, a lot of us who are older, we remember when we had to sit around the dinner table and we had fun and we talked and we did all those type things. What are your kids gonna be talking about when they're our age, when they're 50 or so? Hey, when I was a kid, we all got our own dinners and we went and watched television. Mom put it in there and I put it in the microwave, huh? Father Kaseki, I love Father Kaseki. He's my best friend. And Father Kaseki, who's the rector of our seminary, he has a great, great, great family. In fact, I lived with them for a while, and they have 3 boys and a girl. 2 of the boys became priests. One is my best friend, the seminary, our diocese rector of the seminary, and the other one really doesn't count. He's a Jesuit. But anyway, he's a good Jesuit. He's the provincial of the Jesuits, Tim Kaseki. And the other one went to the service, was a ranger, and the other girl was she's done great things in speech pathology and different things. Anyway, we'd go and we'd spend time. And now, in this family, the mother is a little Italian lady, about that big. And the father's a big Polish man, about that big. So who do you think runs the family? The Italian, you got that right, huh? And Carmela's one of the greatest women in the world. She loves to cook, and they had a rule at the house that nobody ate alone. That even if someone had to work, there would be someone that'd sit there at the table with them while they ate, so no one would ever eat alone. What a great rule for a family. But also, they had a thing where dinner would take hours. I used to love it. And we would laugh and laugh and laugh, huh? One day, everybody was laughing so hard, the young girl, when she was a little kid, laughed so hard, she peed herself. What a memory, huh? What kind of memories do we have? Sometimes dinner is the place where we complain and we put the people down and we say, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't. What is that? We should have a rule with our family tables. No complaining, no yelling unless they're getting bad, then you got to yell, of course. But this is a time not, you didn't do your dishes, you didn't do this, right? It's a time of joy. So we make a memory. Because those memories that we make will be with them for the rest of their lives, just like it's for you. And if you didn't have good memories from you were younger, well, why don't you do something now to make sure your kids have great memories? Make memories, and do that around the dinner table. Make sure if you can't have dinner every night together, which I don't care, I think you can, at least once a week, you have a family dinner that no one's ever excused from. And don't sit there and say, we will have fun at this dinner table. You ever met people like that? Sometimes we can all be like that. But we got to have fun. You know, we got to do something, joy. When all the places I was at, even as a priest, I always used to sit there and say, at the dinner table, please, no business. Let's just relax, huh? We need, everybody's constantly pulling at us. Can't we just have dinner? That's why I rarely go to people's houses for dinner. Rarely. Why? Because when I go to people's houses, oh, Father, now that I got you. Oh, Father, how about this? Oh, Father, I had an idea. Can't we just have dinner? Can't we just relax? Can't we just have fun? Well, no, it's the only time I get to see you. Well, that's why you don't get to see me. Because it's, can't we just have fun? What kind of memories are we making? And it's not all just fun, family. But there got to be some joy and fun in your family. Huh? What are you doing to make memories? Next letter is I. I is for intimacy. What's I for? Intimacy. You know what intimacy means? Into me see. Intimacy. Into me see. Now intimacy, I'm not really good with intimacy, huh? I have had barriers up in my life for all my life. That's what's kept me celibate for 51 years. And so I'm not the best one to talk about intimacy, I know. But the reality is, intimacy is a very deep need, especially in families. Intimacy goes beyond what everybody else sees and goes inside, into me see. Huh? Now, like in my own family, there's great intimacy in my family because they've known me my whole life. Huh? My mother's known me since she had me at 18 years old, right? And so again, sometimes in my own life, I'll sit there and I'll get very crazy because every time someone sees me, they want something, or I'm on a road, or email me, it's all gimme, 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 I want, I need. And so I go running sometimes. I'm just afraid. It's like, oh, I can't do anything. So a couple years ago, I was having a very hard time, and it was Christmas. You know, I used to go to people's houses that I'd known for the last 20 years when I first started out, and they would get demanding, like, you must come over to my house tonight. And so on Christmas Eve, I used to sit there and go to like 8 people's houses. And it would just, I would literally cry from house to house because I couldn't take it anymore. But they were demanding, oh, Father, just, you don't have to go to anyone else's house, just come here. Now, when you hear that from 8 different people, and that's always what, Father, not every, just here, okay. And so the one year, I remember talking to someone, and they says, it was Father Rich too. We were at the dinner table, and he says, Larry, you don't have to go to any of these places. Just say no. And I said, you're right. I don't have to do any of this. And I said, no, nobody else's house am I going to go to ever again on Christmas Eve. So I have all the priests around, and we come and we have dinner here, and Mama Kaseki makes us a nice lasagna and that, and we have a fine time here, the priests, family. Anyway, so one year, it was when I was still going to all the houses and still doing all this stuff, I was a mess on Christmas Day. I was just, felt like I had nothing left to give. I was beyond myself. And I'll never forget, I went home to my house in Pittsburgh. My mother lives in Pittsburgh, and my whole family's down there. And I walked in the house, and I said, Merry Christmas, and I put all the Christmas presents under the tree, and I went downstairs, and I closed the door, because I was a mess. And all of a sudden, I heard my mother coming down the stairs, opened the door, walked in, and sat right across from me, and looked at me and says, what's the matter? Nobody, for at least 6 months, had ever just looked at me and says, what's the matter? My mother had intimacy with me. She saw beyond my angered outside appearance, all my blowing away, and she went inside to find out what's the matter with me. Do we have intimacy in our family? You know, I have a problem with anger. I went to anger management for a year and a half. I'm much better, thank you very much. But anger is not the problem. Never. It's the symptom of something much deeper, right? Anger is a symptom of either fear or hurt. Fear or hurt. So if you like have a husband who likes to get angry, if you sit there and say, I hate when you get angry, what happens? They get more angry, right? Because you're not dealing with the problem. If you look at them and say, what are you afraid of? Or, what are you hurting for? You'll get rid of the anger. You have to have intimacy in your family. So do you have time when you come home, at least once a day, especially for spouses, where you just look at your spouse and say, how are you? What's going on inside? Because most people never talk about this as a family. Do you get inside the other person? Your kids, do you sit there and look at them and say, how are you? And again, when my mother looked at me and says, what's going on, what's the matter? I was 47, so you never outgrow this. Huh? This is part of who we are as families. So is your family a place of intimacy? Where you get beyond what's going on the outside, you get beyond the anger, you get beyond all that stuff, and you find out what's going on in the inside. Because intimacy is one of the greatest needs of everybody. Everybody. Is your family a place of intimacy? The next letter is L. We'll come back to that because you know what that one is. I'll bet you. The last letter is, because I always forget it, that's why I like to tell you now. What's the last letter? Y. Y is for Father Stan Fortuna. You know Father Stan Fortuna? Great guy. He has a thing on family. It's a song called Family. And he has it, broken up like this. F. Forget about me. I love you. Family. Forget about me. I love you. Huh? Y is all about you. It's not about me. When we're in a family, when we can learn to be more concerned about the others than we are about ourselves, that's where it's most important. Huh? That's why I encourage people, and I've done it in other tapes and in books, that I tell people what they should have in all their bathrooms at their house. And when I've been to people's houses for my own parish, I ask to go to the bathroom just so I can see if it's in there. And I've seen many places that have it. I've seen a few that have not. But anyway, we won't talk about our deacons in that way. But anyway, we're going to sit there and we talk about the 3 words I encourage them to put on every mirror. I am third. I am third. God's first, others are second, I got to be last. Now some people, that's the exact opposite of what the world says, huh? The world says, you got to be number one, put number one first, me. God says, those who seek their life will lose it, but those who find their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake and the sake of the Gospels will find it. So I love to sit there and if you ever, my favorite movie, if anybody ever really cares to know, is a movie called City of Joy. Huh? It's based on a book. Now the book was about a priest and a doctor, but the movie becomes Patrick Swayze and he meets a nurse. But anyway, at the end of the book, at the end of the movie, there's just one line that comes up on the screen. And it says, all that is not given is lost. All that is not given is lost. That anything we try to keep for ourselves, we lose forever. But everything we give away, we gain forever. Huh? So the point is, every day when I'm looking at I am third, I'm sitting there looking and saying, did I do something, at least one unselfish act today for someone in my family? Think about it. How hard can that be? Did I do one unselfish act today for someone in my family? Did I put their needs in front of my own? You know, I used to love the books years ago when I was in seminary. We used to read a lot of John Powell's books. In one of the books of Father John Powell, he said, as soon as you ask the question, what have you ever done for me? Love starts to die because you become self-focused instead of other-focused. So again, a very practical way to do this is every day sit there and think about doing one unselfish act for someone in your family. Now, it shouldn't just be someone in your family, but it has to start there, you know, because again, if it doesn't start in the family, don't try to do it everywhere else. You know, years ago I was listening to a Christian radio show, and as I was listening to a Christian radio show, it was this woman, and she was coming into it was a Quaker parish, or a Mennonite parish, I'm sorry. And the woman was coming in, the pastor was greeting people at the door, and this woman comes in and she's crying, and he goes, well, what's the matter? And she's just sobbing, and she goes, well, last night, me and my husband, we were praying with our daughter, and he goes, well, that's a good thing to be praying with your daughter. Oh, yeah, but, you know, as we were praying, she says, and God bless Mommy, God bless Daddy, God bless little Snoopy, God bless Grandma. And the pastor says, that's all great. And he goes, yeah, but she wasn't done. Well, what's the matter? And she says, then all of a sudden, her little daughter looked up at God and says, and God, please, let Mommy be as nice as home as she is to the people in church. What an indictment. Are we really nice to the people at church? Oh yeah, I love you back. Oh, I just love going to church. Sometimes some people run away from their families by going to church. Huh? I often tell when I'm doing permanent deacon retreats, I'll sit there with their wives and I say, deacons, if you're not loving your family first, get the heck out of ministry. Just get out. You need to be loving your families first. So are you doing unselfish acts for your family? Is that your main concern? As the family goes, so goes the nation, so goes the world. Is your family your main concern? Let me give you a hint. How many times have we heard this? When you're laying on your deathbed, it's not going to matter how much money you made. Nobody's going to care, most especially God. Your kids and your wife or your husband will care if you love them, if you put them first. Or are you one of those selfish, miserable people that only cared about yourself and put your own needs over your families? It's all about you. It's not about me. That's the life of Christ.